Hey there, Wastelanders. Ryan from War Games News Radio here, and thanks for tuning in to this very special video because we've got some pretty cool news for you all in this one. We're going to be talking about the Fallout Wasteland Warfare official companion app with the app's creator, Jamie Morris. Now, if you haven't used the app before, I can't say enough good things about it. I highly recommend you check that out. It's got a battle tracker, a force builder, a card library, and all kinds of other features which make gameplay so much more simple when it comes to getting models onto the tabletop and fighting it out in the wasteland. I sat down with Jamie earlier this week and he gave me a rundown of everything that this app can do. And if that's not enough, he had two pretty cool surprises for all of you WGNR viewers out there. First, we got a sneak peek at the Fallout Wasteland Warfare RPG expansion module coming to the app in the very near future. Now, I'm a huge fan of the RPG mode of this game. It's like if you took Dungeons and Dragons and put it into a Fallout world. If that's not enough, Jamie also had something really special for one lucky WGNR viewer is going to win a free 6-month subscription to the app, courtesy of Mr. Morris himself. All you have to do to win is make sure you're a subscriber, leave a comment in the comment section of this video down below. It could be anything. If you want to talk about the app, leave a suggestion for Jamie, tell us what you love about the app. Maybe there's something that you want to see on WGNR, or maybe you just want to say hi. Whatever it is, leave us a comment and you could win a free 6-month subscription to the app, free of charge. Doesn't get any better than that. And don't worry, if you're already a subscriber or you've already bought the card packs, Jamie's going to make sure that the lucky winner is taken care of in some way, shape, or form. And if you want a second chance to win, click on the link in the description below and follow WGNR on Instagram. Give us a follow and like and or comment on the promo post for this video, and you're going to double your chances to win that grand prize. Now, the app is available on both iTunes and the Google Play Store, so go ahead, grab your phone or your tablet, download that app, which is free to download, and follow along as I talk to Jamie about the new expansion coming to this app and all of the other things that this app can do. And don't forget, subscribe and comment on this video for your chance to win. Let's get to it. You know, kicking things off, thanks for agreeing to come on the channel and to talk about the app, taking time out of your probably busy schedule between working on this and other projects as well, I imagine.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I mean, I'm I like to talk about my work. My wife gets sick of hearing it all the time, so it's nice to talk to someone who's enthusiastic about it.
For those who might not know whether it's the game itself or the app, maybe you can just give us sort of a quick rundown, elevator pitch type thing about sort of what the app is and what it's all about.
Sure. So the app started for me as a way to reduce the number of tokens that I have on the table, because I found that I'm not the most dexterous player in the world, and all those little tokens, especially when you have to kind of move them with the model, if you've got a single card that represents multiple models, moving those tokens around, I just found to be a little bit clunky for me, and I wanted some way to be able to represent that digitally, and I thought, given that I'm a software developer, I must be able to come up with something. But it was literally just the battle tracker section of the app, and a really simple one. You put the name of the unit in, and then you can track your wounds and the status effects and things like that. And that's kind of what I envisioned is the only thing I was going to build. I was supposed to be attending a Wasteland Warfare tournament at the back end of 2018, and I was going to I was going to get the app into a state where I could maybe show it off to a few people there. And I realized that I needed to put together a force list for the tournament, and it became glaringly obvious that I should be building a list builder, like an army builder kind of app, and then the battle tracker was kind of part of that. So those are the kind of two core functionality pieces of functionality that I think people would be interested in the app. On top of that, it's then kind of grown So you've got a settlement tracker. Again, another part of the game that I just kind of felt benefited from something that could kind of automate the process for people, because I think once you know the settlement rules, they're not that bad, but I found them confusing to begin with, having come from a background of playing games like Gorkamorka, where it's very much like you have this character, and this character kind of picks up wounds and equipment and continues on, whereas with the settlement mode in Wasteland Warfare, it's more about the settlement, and the units might change over time. So understanding those rules, the settlement tracker was a big part of sort of late last year. I worked on trying to automate all of the explore cards, things like that, where you can kind of go out into the wasteland and it gives you the options and then automates the consequences of those options. You've then got let me see, there's a multiplayer mode, so that especially during lockdown, I tried it on Tabletop Simulator with a friend of mine. He hadn't played Wasteland Warfare. We played one of the starter scenarios and used the app with the multiplayer mode. That I will kind of give you a disclaimer that it's I kind of threw it in there as I wonder if I could get this to work, and while it works on a technical level, it's not my best work, so it's sufficient for basically so that you don't have to everyone crowd around the same phone if you're at the same table, that kind of thing. And then the library. So just as a card reference, like anyone that wants to just be able to quickly check for a particular card, you don't have to shuffle through all of your cards. You can just go and look it up, and it's the latest version as well. And then the latest thing is the RPG character builder, which I'm working on, which is and it's that one is definitely not supposed to be a replacement for the character sheet, because I think there's something nice about having that big A4 character sheet. But if you do want to use the app and you want to be able to use the battle tracker, previously there was no way to do that with RPG characters because they just weren't part of the data that's in the app. So now that's going to change. That you will be able to build a character. And that's really supposed to supplement the paper-based version of that character sheet, but it means that now you can use it in the battle tracker and play the game the way that you would play it if you were doing everything else digitally.
So there's the two different modes for the list builder as well, the unrestricted and the battle mode. Maybe you can talk just a little bit about sort of the differences of those modes,
Sure.
and maybe some of the things that folks might not know that's in the latest iteration, because there's all kinds of new features that you've added in there as well.
So battle mode obviously restricts what units can equip. Each unit is limited to certain weapons, very limited armor choices, and things like grenades and stuff like that are limited to only certain units. So someone like the Sole Survivor has a plethora of equipment options, whereas your average settler has access to a much more restricted list. So battle mode was kind of originally the only thing I was intending to build to make that easier. But then when I talked to Modiphius, they said, well, actually, battle mode is almost secondary to their goal with the game. And Modiphius are really kind of about a narrative experience. So what I call unrestricted mode in the app is really what Modiphius call narrative mode. And the only reason I called it unrestricted in the app was to make it very clear that the difference is, whereas in battle mode, you can only take the specific items for a unit, in unrestricted mode, you can take whatever you like. And I deliberately made that so that it doesn't really enforce a lot of rules that you might expect. So, on some cards, they'll say super mutants only, like the aviator cap is super mutants only. But if you want to stick an aviator cap on dog meat, go right ahead. In fact, if you want to put dog meat in power armor, why not? So
sure, yeah.
Essentially,
he's powerful enough. I don't think we need to throw him in power
right.
armor. Yeah.
But what I didn't want to do was to stop people being able to homebrew things, because I was really worried that I was going to build something that would be too restrictive, and that people would hate it. And I didn't really, it's a lot harder to build something that automates everything right than it is to build something that allows you to do anything but doesn't automate everything that you might want it to automate. So, and plus it's, so it makes it easier for me, and it makes it easier for me to do a good job. So what that does is it links into the settlement tracker and restricts the equipment that's available to either the cards that are on the AI card, the equipment that's on the AI card, which is standard for settlement mode, or any items that you've specifically brought into battle. So if you've picked up a suit of power armor, you take that in your next battle, that's going to be available for one unit to select. So you've got those 3 modes, but yeah, when you create a new force, it's by default going to be unrestricted or battle mode. Yeah, and then in terms of like other features, stuff that I added relatively recently, like since it launched in September, I added the random units picker and the random force generator. Random force generator sounds a lot more glamorous than it is because it's completely random. So, you end up with a I don't know, you get up with like a death claw as your force leader, or like a mutant hound or a rad roach as your force leader. So you're not really supposed to use whatever it gives you, but it's just to especially for where you're playing against the AI, if you want to kind of throw together, say you've got I've got a ton of super mutant models, so I'm pretty sure if I just say give me a bunch of random super mutants, I've either got those models or I've got something I can kind of proxy for those models. So if I just can't be bothered to put together a force, if I just want to try out my survivalist against a random selection of Brotherhood or robots, I can just say give me 500 points worth of Brotherhood or 500 points worth of robots, and I get it.
Yeah, the random, I've really enjoyed that, especially since they've released the Into the Wasteland mode.
Right.
It's been a lot of fun that way, and like you said, you can get some pretty interesting combinations by randomizing it too. I think I did one list once with survivors that was about 80% vault dwellers, and then a dog. So I was like, okay, well that's fun. It's like a vault, theme.
Well, maybe
it's cool.
Maybe they were all called Gary.
Yeah, that's right. That would be a great function too. Yeah, just the Gary list. It's been really interesting. The battle tracker as well too. I mean, especially for me, doing the live play, not the live play, but the battle report videos.
Yeah.
The one thing I haven't got to explore too much is the built-in scenarios that are in there from the 2-player starter set. You can go over just a little bit about how those sort of scenarios work, and if there's anything else. I think you mentioned when we were talking before this that there's some stuff that might be coming to that.
That's right. Yeah, the tutorial scenarios, unlike a lot of the other scenarios you get, they've got specific force lists that they're designed to work with. So it would tell you need a settler who has a hunting rifle and a stim pack, and then you need the free tech who has a shotgun, and then the suit mutants who've got these units, and it would also tell you exactly which cards should go into the Wasteland deck. So at the time, I didn't have a Wasteland deck in the app, although that is in there now.
Right.
But so we had to manually go through the big stack of cards and find exactly the sort of 17 or 18 cards that we needed in the Wasteland deck. Then I had to, in the app, go and equip each of the forces. And it was just, I didn't want anyone else to go through that pain. So I figured, how hard can it be to just codify them and make it so that you say start scenario and it automatically equips the right units and fills in the Wasteland deck for you. But then it kind of stayed like that for a while because there's only 5 tutorial scenarios, and then most other scenarios they don't give you either a pre-configured Wasteland deck or recommended force lists. The Vestiges Resurgent scenarios, they've got kind of a recommended force list for most of them, although you can play it with other forces if you prefer. And so they're now going to be added to the app as well. I've actually done it, but just not released it yet because I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm waiting to release. And that's just so that, again, people who, especially for people that are newer to the game, it means if you just want to kind of get started, those tutorial scenarios are great for someone who's just kind of just picked up the game, just picked up the app, and they just want to get started with the game. You hit start, it adds them all to the battle for you, and it's like, right, okay, let's figure out where I go from here. So.
Oh yeah, super handy. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having those added in there. Could have used that when I filmed the last two.
Yeah.
Videos. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have got them out a bit sooner, but you'd have to let me know before you film the part 3, and I'll get you a pre-release copy of it.
Hey, that would be great. Yeah, Fallout Friday scenarios have been a lot of fun, and I think there's, at the time of filming this, there might be another one coming out in just a couple days. So
yeah, I think there is. I need to catch up. I haven't played any of them yet. I've got the Undiscovered Vault to play. I've got all the Vestiges Resurgent to play, and then I've also got the was the Undiscovered Vault, was that the RPG scenario, or was that
That
The Unexpected Shepherd.
The Unexpected Shepherd, yes, which
Yeah,
is
so I've got that to play as well. And the reason I haven't played that is because I thought, well, actually, I want to play test whatever I build for the RPG stuff. So
yeah, smart.
I've kind of, and this is a big reason why I've not played a lot of Fallout for the last couple of years, because every time I go to play Fallout, I feel guilty that I'm not working on the app. So I go and spend time tweaking the app. But then when I go and play a game of Fallout, I again come away with a list of things that I've got to fix. And it's like, right, that's going to be 6 weeks till I can play Fallout again.
Oh man, that's well. I mean, the rest of us players, thank you. We unfortunately haven't had a chance to play too much, but
I'm sure I'll get my chance.
Yeah, I mean, on that, I think I saw one of your posts on one of the forums there that you just put up a sort of a bit of a display of some of your army.
Yeah.
We're looking quite good. Yeah, some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get a lot of time to paint them either, especially, again, I spend time painting. I'm kind of thinking I should be working on the app. So what I did was one of the guys that's on the group, he actually lives locally. We've played a couple of games before lockdown. We played a couple of games down at a place called Entoyment, and he was starting to get into commissioning painting then. So
cool.
I hadn't previously considered paying someone to paint my minis because I thought, well, I've got all the paints and stuff, I should just do it myself. But time is really precious for me at the moment. And one of the perks of doing the work officially with Modifius is that I get free miniatures from them as part of the deal. So it saves me enough money that I can afford to then pay somebody else to paint them. And he does such a great job as well. Like he posts on every now and then with the work that he's doing. His name's Chris McLeod. If anyone's considering, if anyone's considering getting any commissioned work done, actually don't talk to him because I've got loads more miniatures I need to get him to paint. So let's erase that last bit from the video.
Yeah, the cooperation with Modifius. I mean, this is the official app for the game. But like you mentioned, it didn't start out that way, which is kind of cool. One thing I've gleaned from conversations with the guys at the company is they're a really approachable group. So maybe you can just get a little quickly about how your pet project became the official app of this game.
Yeah, sure. So like I say, it started out as I wanted to build something for myself. I knocked together the kind of first proof of concept in a couple of hours and play tested it with a friend, and it worked quite well. It was a bit kind of clunky to set things up, but it made me think, okay, well, there's enough meat on the bones there to kind of flesh out that idea, and it's I'm using a lot of visceral metaphors here, but and this was maybe, I don't know, early October 2018. And in the UK at the beginning of December, when there isn't a global pandemic on, Modifius run and sponsor a convention called Dragon Meet in London, and so this being the year that Wasteland Warfare was released, I was planning on going up there, maybe getting some games of Wasteland Warfare in. And I thought, well, what a great opportunity to maybe show it off to some players. My intention was to, maybe sell it on like Google Play enough to kind of make me a little bit of money to kind of pay for my time. I spent the first month kind of knocking together a proof of concept. And then, unfortunately, they had to cancel the tournament that I was signing up for. There were two different tournaments, and they were cancelling one, but they were kind of keeping another one going. And Chris Birch emailed out everyone personally and said, do you want a refund for your ticket, or would you like to still come along? And that was perfect. Them cancelling it was the perfect kind of in, because I then got to say, well, actually, Chris, I've been working on this app.
Yeah.
I showed him a quick demo before I went to Dragon Meet. He liked it and immediately said, well, if you wanted to sell it, you wouldn't really be able to, because we're under license from Bethesda. But if you'd be willing for it to be the official app, then we could probably work something out that way. And I was blown away. I hadn't even been entertaining the idea of it being the official app, but Chris clearly liked the idea that this could kind of evolve into something better. So there were a lot of hoops that I had to jump through to be allowed to do the work.
Okay.
That delayed it for a long time. We got it out for kind of around June 20th or something in 2020, and straight away, like the amount of work that I had to do or felt like I had to do went through the roof, because I was getting so much feedback, good and bad, and it just meant, like, where I'd kind of thought the app's ready, I realized that it's not. It's maybe like 80% of the way there, but I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase of it takes 80% of the time to do 20% of the work, and that's basically what happened here. I'd done what seemed like most of the work already, and then that last 20% just took so much more effort. And while I was doing the first 80% of the work, because it was taking so long to get approvals from my job, I was just adding new features in. So like multiplayer, that came out of me just kind of being a bit bored. I was waiting for stuff to happen, so I was like, oh, I wonder if I could knock that together. The PDF generation, I think that was a similar thing, but it was later on down the line. Being able to share your forces via a QR code, that was something that came out of just having too much time on my hands early on in the project. Being able to take a photo of a unit to assign rather than using the default one.
Right, yeah.
Another kind of little vanity project. So a lot of those, like the delay made for a more fully featured app, but it just meant that by the time we did get it out, it felt like we'd missed the sweet spot of when we should have released it. It really should have come out early 2019, even if it had been a protracted open beta. Right. I think it would have been a lot more palatable to users.
Never ceases to amaze me when I see custom pictures and people sharing their lists over QR codes. It's really, like you said, it's turned it into a pretty robust little project, I gotta say.
I get a little buzz whenever I see anybody kind of post a photo, like a screenshot from the app, and it's now gotten to the point where I think enough people have seen those that less people are saying, oh cool, what's that app you're using? Because that used to give me a real thrill when people were discovering the app for the first time, and I was like, are they going to love it or are they going to hate it? Because it was so divisive just around the pricing that we started out, we had no idea how it was going to be priced, and at the time Modiphius didn't offer the cards for free as PDFs on the website. So it was the pricing strategy that we went for of selling digital card packs made a lot more sense when we thought it up. By the time we got to launching it, I think maybe if we'd really thought about it more, we could have predicted that people were going to be divided by it. I don't think it necessarily would have changed the pricing strategy, because we had to fund it somehow, because of the amount of hours that went into it, not just on my side but on Modiphius' side, in terms of the kind of, there's a lot of admin that goes into releasing the app in terms of setting up the accounts with iOS and Android and all the kind of legal bits. So it had to happen somehow, but by the time it got released, people were already used to having these free PDFs, and it wasn't seen as a like a plus point that Modiphius were giving people free PDFs. It was seen as a negative that they weren't also free in the app.
Right. Yeah.
So.
It was interesting when that first came out. I mean, and I think that was some of the confusion too. I mean, Modiphius is, they've got some really great and high level, intellectual property under their belt, but not like, it's not dealing with Games Workshop here or something like that, right? So
no, that's it.
Yeah, so I mean, there was a little confusion, myself included, about it's like, oh, but I've already bought this card pack, man, I gotta buy it again.
Yeah.
It's, and then once you realize, oh, it's you're just a guy building something, and having been a freelancer myself, I was like, oh man, now I feel like an ass, having called like getting all bent out of shape. I'm like, yeah, of course, you pay $10 for the Wave 2 card pack and you're good to go, right? So
yeah. And I think that I didn't expect anywhere that everyone was going to want to do that, because it is a lot of money. And I remember being a teenager, and I was collecting Games Workshop, but when I say collecting, what I was really doing was repurposing the small number of models that I had all the time. I was constantly doing conversions and stuff, because I just couldn't afford to go and buy more models.
Yeah.
So if you're in that kind of boat, if you're young and you don't have money to spend on it, spending money on the app, that's never going to beat spending money on actual models that you can touch and play with. So I totally get it, and that's why the subscription option came in eventually, because I'd have initially dismissed it. I said, I hate I hate when I get it, when I download an app and it's all behind a paywall. That's
Yeah.
a subscription. I had a talk with one of the members of the community. Yeah, he convinced me that the subscription model was worth considering, because when you looked at, like, it depended on how much you priced it at, but when we kind of settled on $2.99 a month, because by the time that, assuming that a new wave gets released every 6 months or so, say 2 waves every year, which is probably about the cadence they're doing at the moment, and we worked it out that it would take you a couple of years before the subscription exceeds the cost of buying the waves just outright. And the problem is during that time, if you buy the waves outright but you stop playing for 6 months, you've still spent money on the waves, so you don't get a discount for them at that point. The subscription, you can cancel it at any point and then pick it up again later. Sure, you lose access to the cards that are there, but when you pick it up later, you'll get all the new stuff that's come along with it. So I kind of wish that I'd just been more open-minded about that from the start. But the feedback that I've had, and like looking at the numbers of people that are adopting the subscription, makes me realize that it was the right decision. It maybe just came a little late. But I guess the good news is that anyone that did adopt the app and bought the in-app purchases before the subscription came along, they're going to save money in the long run. But everyone that got the subscription is getting to try out the app, and even if you only use it for a month and then decide, yep, I want to buy all the packs, everybody wins. So it's just about having the options.
And on that, you've got a fun little treat that we're going to give away to a lucky viewer.
Yes,
maybe
we are.
A little bit about the little prize pack that you've got together.
Sure thing. You pick one of your many viewers. One lucky viewer can have 6 months of free subscription on the app. Obviously, that's going to be more valuable to someone that hasn't really bought into the app yet, but I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that haven't. And we'll set that up with them. If for whatever reason we can't figure that out, and I'm sure we will, then we'll figure something else out. But I want to give someone the chance to be able to use the app in full, even if it's just for like 6 months, and then you decide whether that's for you and you want to keep the subscription up, and if not, then maybe we'll do another giveaway in 6 months time and let somebody else do it.
There we go. That's great. No, I'm sure that'll go a long way, and getting people excited sort of about the game and about the app in particular has been sort of part of this little passion project of mine too.
It's nice when some people kind of are discovering the game for the first time too. I think a lot of people, like, post Christmas have kind of been joining the group and have just discovered it, and I feel really glad for them, because I remember, like, the first time I played the game, some of the mechanics I just really love, the different colored dice for different effects.
Oh yeah,
I think that's great. A lot of those kind of things, the fact that you're rolling everything at the same time. It's not like roll this to hit, then roll this to beat toughness, and then roll this for armor. It's just roll everything all at once. Green die means more likely to hit, black die means more damage, that kind of thing. I love that people are going to be discovering that, and I hope that the app can kind of help them discover some of that as well. And of course, the app has the benefit that it'll calculate a lot of the kind of the more complicated parts of the game out for them. So whenever you add equipment to a unit, it automatically adjusts your stat cards. PDF can't do that.
Huge. I love that. Right, you get a cap or a pair of power armor, and there's all your stats. Clear as day. It's awesome.
Yeah, right. All your health is changed and worked out. It keeps track of things like, just say, power armor. It keeps track of the damage and automatically flips the card for you at the appropriate point. It rolls addiction for you when you finish using a chem, that kind of thing. And then the AI mode, which is a big draw for people. I found AI mode is not actually that difficult to run once you've kind of read the rules and everything, but kind of it's a significant enough chunk of the rule book. So having a button in the app where you can just say, get me the next AI action, and it just says it's a move action, and here's all of the rules that are applicable to that. So there's still a bit of reading to do, but it's all in one place. You don't have to keep flipping through the rule book to find it. So hopefully that kind of helps people out. What I tend to find actually is I used to play a lot of Warhammer just on my own as a kid, because all my friends lived at least an hour's ride away.
Same.
And so yeah, I get quite good at just playing both sides anyway. So I use the AI sometimes, but then if I disagree with the AI decision, I'm like, no, we wouldn't do that. do something different. And I think they kind of tell you to do that anyway, right? If it doesn't make sense to you, just do something else.
Like you said, there are a lot of tokens in the game. I mean, it's one of the more, when I first picked up the box and opened it up and saw those punch out sheets, I went, whoa, this is gonna be a lot of fun to get around. But going into the app, I mean, everything from charges to damage, lighting people on fire, stuns. I can't even think off the top of my head all the different things that you've accounted for. Having that AI mode and being able to maintain all of that in one place, like you said, it's been pretty darn handy. Well, what I'm really excited about, speaking of RPGs, is the RPG mode. Maybe you can tell me a little bit. I've been so excited for this for a long time. What can we expect when that comes out?
Sure. Well, I can give you a demo of kind of where it's at. I mean, this is kind of really
that'd be
early
great.
days because there's still some stuff I'm doing on. Let me see if I can share my screen with you. So the new addition to the app obviously is the RPG character builder. But basically, if you've got if you bought the RPG expansion, or if you've got the subscription, then you'll get this a character list screen. If you don't, then it comes up there just kind of telling you you need to buy the RPG expansion, and it links you to either the subscription or the one-off expansion. And in price wise, that expansion is going to be I think cheaper than any of the other kind of card packs that we have, and it comes with all of the perks, the gifts and scars that you get as part of the RPG. So because that's not freely available, I talked to Modifius about it, and we agreed on a kind of a price point that we think is fair, given the kind of price of the other content. Because really what you're getting here is an interactive character sheet, which you can obviously get the character sheet for free. You just don't get all the kind of perk descriptions and so on.
Of course.
So let me just delete the characters that I've done so far. You get a little warning when you delete a character, just because you don't want to accidentally delete your character sheet. The intention for this as well, I should probably be clear, like I don't really see this as a complete replacement to a paper character sheet. Where a lot of the app is trying to replace or kind of to substitute the physical components like the cards and the tokens and so on. This is intended so that if you are playing the RPG, you can use it with the battle tracker, for example, because I felt it was unfair for people who are playing the RPG to then feel, well, I can't really use the app because my character cannot be represented in the app. So this is, I still think, as an RPG player and GM myself, I really like having a physical character sheet.
Oh yeah.
But then you can, if you can manually keep that in sync with the app, then it does allow you to then kind of take that a step further. It's also handy if you happen to have forgotten your character sheet when you go to a game. If you're like me, you never forget your phone when you go anywhere.
That's right.
So here we've got the create new character button. What it'll be presented with there is a list of all of the units that you normally get in the app. But you notice at the top here we've got RPG archetypes. So let's start with an RPG handy archetype. Let's go with a fixer. So if we take a look at that, we get the stats and any abilities. Some of them have kind of unit abilities, usually that are kind of based on perks, and those will be listed at the bottom here. And before I create this guy, one thing to note is the RPG has rules at character creation for the health of your unit. It's no matter what your health stat, whether it's endurance or agility, when you create your character, your health is boosted up to a minimum of 6, and if it's already 6, it becomes 7.
Right. Yes.
And I think if it was already 7, tough luck. You've got enough health.
You're tough enough already at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Let's give him a name. I'm going to call him Eugene. That you can see I've used that name before.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So once you've created your character, you then get your new character in the list there, and you can see he's got 5 XP to start with, which is where all characters begin. So if I click on him, you get 5 XP when you start to spend on. So essentially, those two numbers at the top are how much XP have you spent, and how much XP is available.
I see. Okay.
Obviously each perk and each new skill advancement costs experience points. So that's obviously got to be changed prior to release, but that's easy enough for me to do. But let's give him some more XP. Let's give him another 5 XP. So you see here we've got 5 out of 10 experience. So this looks similar to the unit screen in the regular force builder, but there's a few differences. We've got, firstly, we don't have the heroic toggle here because all RPG characters are
Begin heroic, yes.
So you can change the caps by just clicking on set caps, and I'll put it to give them, say, 500 caps. Life Giver is a perk that modifies your health, but the cost for it is,
it's like a variable cost.
It's like the new health value minus a certain amount. I think it's -3 for Life Giver, and the stat upgrades are -4.
That's right, yeah.
So we've got a lot of kind of fixed price perks. Now, a lot of these are new. They're not part of the base game. If I just click on, say, Battle Experience, you can see there. So the perks now are text-driven, which means that the amount of data that I have to store is basically just the text that you see there.
That's very smart. I mean, and with the erratas and things that have been coming out as, you know, rules and things like that change, that's got to make everyone's life a lot easier, especially yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, again, I've tried to make it so that as much of this can be automated as possible. So the perks are now a lot easier to work with in that respect, and it means you know, I can cut down the size of the app. Most of them work in the same way as regular perks. You click on one to toggle it on and off. However, in the RPG, some perks can be applied multiple times, and enduring is an example of one. So if we look at this description for enduring, it just gives you +1 endurance. So the new value is going to be 5, -4 is going to be 1. So if I click on this, the used XP should go from 5 to 6. Obviously, as we discussed before, that should really be 0.
The functionality is going to change, right? Okay.
Yeah. So enduring, that goes up to 6 at the top. If I add another one on, it should go up by 2 this time. So it goes up to 8, then it goes up to 11. So each time it's increasing by 1. So it's, yeah, that took a little bit of work to do, but now that the app supports that, it means that if Modifius come with any more kind of dynamic sort of costs for items or perks and so on, I've got a way to implement that. If we go back, look at the unit card, he's now got endurance of 7.
Right, but that's much like how in your list builder, if you put on, say, you know, a piece of armor or something, or an item that increased the stat, it displays it in the same way and gives you, you know, an indication of how that stat has increased or decreased, as the case may be.
Yeah, so a great example is T45 power armor, which decreases your agility but increases your strength and endurance. So if we just put T45 on, which notice here as well, they've got caps costs because the RPG has caps costs that aren't based on points, because it's not a balancing issue, it's a kind of currency issue. So 528 points for T45 power armor. I mean, some of this power armor is crazy expensive. Like,
well, I mean, and that's again per the RPG cost list, right? It's much more expensive than in the narrative or battle mode.
So if then we look at the unit card, you see his agility now is red. It's gone down by 1. His endurance is a whopping 10.
Here we go. That is one tough, chatty Eugene.
Yeah, right. So Eugene's got himself a nice set of power armor. We've also got gifts and scars, which are unique to the RPG. And these are kind of like perks. They can modify your stats in the same kind of way. You know, they're all kind of perk-like abilities, but they're ones that you take at character creation. And I guess if the GM decides, you know, you can you might have certain events that happen where you say, okay, well, you get a new scar to kind of relate that part of your story. So there's actually no restriction in the app on how many of these you can take. You're supposed to take 2 of each, I think, when you
at character creation. Yeah.
So if I take a couple of scars there, they don't increase your XP costs. So if I then so those are gifts. So then scars, yeah, obviously there's no cost to those. They're just things that you can take. And then the last thing is specialties. So these are kind of, they can be as specific as you want. You could say I've got a specialty in rifles, or you could say I've got a specialty in automatic rifles.
Sure.
And that's just literally a list to kind of add that, so you can kind of reference it later. It doesn't, obviously there's no specific rule associated with that in the app, but obviously in the RPG it's to kind of give you a bonus to skills that are relevant, and that increases the XP cost as well because each new specialty is +1.
Right, and again, at character creation, I believe it's 2 gifts, 2 scars, and then 1 specialty out
One
of
specialty, right.
that beginning XP. Right. Very smart.
Right. Yeah. So, and then and you can also apply leader cards as well. That was mentioned somewhere in the RPG that if the GM decides it's appropriate, you can take a leader card. So again, they're not XP based. They don't modify XP, but they do have the same effect as they do in the regular game. So veteran, for example, will add 2 health to the character, so we could make Eugene even more buff and manly than he already is.
He's unstoppable at this point.
He really is. He's like Frank Corrigan. So then the big new thing really with the RPG character builder is the skills page. So
Right.
So these are all the skills that are mostly unique to the RPG, things that don't have a purpose in the regular game, like know-how skills and so on. And you see, because I picked the fixer archetype, I've already got some skills purchased. So persuade, talk, know-how, and for anyone that's not familiar with the RPG game, the way these skills work is that if you don't have a skill, whenever you need to roll that skill, you get -4 to it. But as soon as you buy a skill, if I wanted to say buy the computer's skill, I get a free. First off, it gets rid of the -4 penalty, and I get 1 free black die when I am making tests with that skill. Because in the RPG, you're trying to get a certain number of successes, and damage icons indicate another success. So you can then add more on. You can have up to 3 of each color, and you notice that's increasing the XP cost at the top again in a kind of scaling way. So if you want to get like a full +9 dice to roll with each with one of your skills, that's going to cost you quite a few experience. And obviously you can adjust them back down. It allows you to kind of play with them and see how many XP something would cost. And if you want to get rid of any skill, you can just tap on the black dice and it just gets rid of it. You can also have a skill for free. So this might be because you might have the GM says, oh, you know what, you've been working really hard in character to learn how to use computers, so I'm going to give you a free skill. And the difference there is, if we see, like, when you purchase the skill, it costs you 1 XP,
right?
But if you take it for free, it doesn't cost you anything. Let's take a look at the heavy. So notice he doesn't have computers as a skill. So the RPG rules are that you can't purchase a skill that has an icon if you don't have that icon on the unit card. So we're going to call this
the
guy,
expertise ones.
We'll call him Jeff. That's a really super mutant-y name.
It is. There we go.
Jeff and Eugene. You see, I like very mundane names for my my characters. So here, computers is grayed out. You can't pick that up. And that the rule book is very explicit about that. That there's no way to buy buy those skills. That's basically to ensure that archetypes still have a purpose, a meaning. Because otherwise, every character would have the potential to get to the same maxed out level of stats, which would, I guess, make it kind of less interesting. It wouldn't be much use being able to do all that if you couldn't then use it with the rest of the game. So if I go to let's just quickly go to the battle tracker, make sure we've kind of cleared that off, and we'll add a regular force in. My wife's Super Mutants force, us guys as Smash You guys as Big Time.
Love it.
Which with led by Dr. Smart Brain, which is
perfect.
And then if we go back to the RPG mode, and we're going to add Eugene to the battle, and he just gets added under RPG characters. So he doesn't get added to any given force. It's just because they could be independent, or you might want to consider them as part of a force, but that's up to you to decide kind of where they sit. But yeah, he works in the same way. I've obviously got an icon there. I've got a fix that's missing. So there's a few little tweaks I'm expecting to finish off this week. But yeah, the most of the work now is done. It's got to jump through some hoops with iOS. On Apple, they take a little longer to do approvals, especially for in-app purchases. So once that's all done, I'm hoping maybe maybe Friday this week. It's easily going to be before the end of the month that it should be live on both platforms. Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, well, I mean, just sort of first thoughts on this. I mean, it looks and operates, very similar to, if people who are already using the app are familiar with Battle Tracker, Force Builder. So yeah, I can definitely see this getting a lot of functionality, and really streamlining things, not dissimilar to what you've done in the other options. So I personally am really looking forward to this myself. But it's really nice to see how this is looking, and very excited to see it go live. That's for sure. Well, Jamie, thanks so much for taking the time. Getting a preview of the RPG mode is pretty great. But anything else you want folks to know about the app going forward?
Yeah, to set people's expectations, I'm going to be maintaining this app for as long as Modiphius are investing in the game, right? So my intention is to be keeping up with the cadence of releases that Modiphius do. So when they release Wave 5 and the kind of NCR and stuff like that, I hopefully won't be too far behind. If I am behind, I'll be catching up as fast as I'm able to around family, day job, that kind of thing. Really, for everyone that's like kind of using the app, like, thank you to everybody. It's like it makes it. I'm not doing this for to get rich. I'm doing this because other people like me probably saw a need for this kind of thing, but not everybody's able to build it. So the fact that I'm able to build something and other people are able to use it, it's probably in that respect one of the most successful projects I've ever done, because people actually use it. For people that haven't tried it, give it a go. It's free to try. I'm completely open to discussion on any parts of it. If people kind of don't agree with the way that the app approaches certain things, reach out to me and talk to me. I'm on the Facebook group. Hopefully you can maybe share a link to that Facebook group. There's like 8,000 people on there already. Yeah, thanks to everybody that's using the app. That's, you guys are why I'm working on it, and hopefully you can kind of tell that, because when people email me saying this is broken, I'm trying to respond within a couple of hours, and most of the time I'm fixing the bug within a couple of days. I just haven't released it yet because I'm waiting to release other things. But I just hope people know that I really love doing it, and the reason I love doing it is because of you guys. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, as one of the people who has emailed you in the past, asking a ton of questions, thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for taking the time to come in and have a chat here today, and for the little prize that we'll give away to folks in this video as well. So
absolutely, yeah. You let me know who wins, and I'll sort them out with 6 months of free subscription time.
Well, there you go, folks. You've heard it here first. The official Fallout Wasteland Warfare RPG companion app expansion will be available by the end of February 2021. I cannot wait to turn all of my RPG characters that I've been playing around with into their digital formats, and I just know that this is going to make my life as an overseer and game master that much easier when I get a chance to play live again in person, or when I'm playing over Tabletop Simulator or Discord with my RPG crew. Don't forget, if you want your chance to win that free 6-month paid subscription, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below for your chance to win. Don't forget, double your chance to win if you follow us on Instagram at WarGamesNewsRadio. Follow us and make sure you like and or comment on the promo post for this video. Stay tuned to the channel for more news as the new Vegas wave is right on the horizon. Another really exciting chapter is about to get started in this game, and it's going to be really, really cool to see how the new units play out as we dig into the Mojave Wasteland and start searching for that platinum chip. Stay tuned. War Games News Radio will be back.